In high school, I won a bunch of awards for being an artist. I was a good little artist in high school. And I won mostly every award because I was focused on hyperrealism. And that came because I was basically copying photographs, like a machine with super precision. I would copy the colors, the texture, and everything, so that the end result of one of my drawings, you'd look back and go, wow, is that a photograph? I mean, I'm exaggerating because I didn't use... There was always a bad form. Like I'd draw an automobile, but the wheel would be wonky. So all the qualities of photorealism would be there, but my ellipses were terrible. And, but anyway, I won a bunch of awards. So, I've been watching this show on YouTube called what's it called? It's called The Best Portrait Artists, or Britain's Best Portrait Artist, or something like that. But anyway, it's basically just one of those shows. It's a formulaic show set in Britain about painters. They have two versions. They have landscape artists and portrait artists. And of course, I just like watching it because I like watching any kind of talent contest, because I watch cooking shows, which is stupid because you can't taste the food. You have to rely on the judge's tongue and that they're telling you the truth, which is really stupid. I don't know why we watch cooking shows. Well, I do know why, because we like watching people do things and we like judging them. But art shows and Project Runway and fashion shows and singing shows, they're better because we are qualified judges and we can tell who's better than who. We can see how our opinions match with the judges' opinions, And it's with art, everybody's an expert. The best thing about art is your opinion is both simultaneously right and wrong, because it's totally subjective. But what isn't subjective is the talent of realism. Like, something either looks real or it doesn't look real, right? That's not artistic expression. That's basically skill. It's just a skill you can learn, and it requires patience. It's mathematic. It's robotic. It requires the tools of observation, being able to match this with that. It's spatial. It's a skill that's spatial. It recognizes your place in the world. It requires some humility. It's a totally different skill than self-expression, right? So anyway, watching this show, now what's funny about that is I'm not a big fan of realism. Like, when I see somebody produce a piece of artwork where they're copying a photograph, I think, yeah, well, so what? You've learned how to do what a camera can do or what a Xerox machine can do. Fantastic. Congratulations. Not necessary, because we have cameras and we have Xerox machines, right? But nonetheless, it's impressive. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. Stick with me. The question is now, what kind of art do I like in my life? The art that I like is when I see a piece of artwork that looks like somebody spent a lot of time and they considered every move. I like art that's not quite right. I like art that looks like somebody's very best effort. They don't achieve realism at all because maybe they weren't trying, or maybe they are, but they don't have the skills and they don't have the eye to do it. But they gave their best effort. In other words, all the strokes are there, like every little hair is there, That's my favorite kind of art. And even besides that, I like outsider art. I hate that term, but um, outsider art that gets things wrong to a degree that's really kind of comical because it also shows a different view of the world. The naive effort. God, I love the effort. You know, there's something just so wonderful about somebody putting forth a lot of effort, whether they succeed or not. And funny thing about that too is after high school, I went from doing that photorealism stuff to hyper detailed illustrations, which is hyper detailed cartooning, where my art had little lines and crosshatches, and the figures were all cartoon in form, in like dimension, and big heads, small foreheads, you know, grumpy looks on faces, spaces between teeth, small bodies proportionately, but still, I put a lot of time into it. That was probably more of a, born out of my respect for work ethic. So no matter what you think about a subject matter, a topic, or a message, if there's a work ethic there, some idiot like me is going to appreciate it just based on the time you put into something. So over the years, a lot of people have said things like, "Oh, I would give anything to be able to draw like you, or sing like you, or dance like you, or whatever the case may be." And my simple answer is, well, would you give 100 hours? Or would you give 10,000 hours? You said you'd give anything. Would you give that? And of course, the answer is generally no, they wouldn't. They think that these skills come naturally, but they don't. They come with time. Like I'm saying, when I look back at all these paintings that I thought were photorealistic from a high school student, I see all these proportional problems and everything. And so my delusion was in full effect back then. I could see that I still probably needed to put more time in, and the proportional problems were because I rushed it. I wasn't as robotic about the initial drawing outline as I was about the execution of the colors, and stuff like that. But which is why now I see those old drawings as charming. Boom. Okay. Seemingly getting off track. So what the real topic of this little tirade is skill, ability versus intent. When I see someone who is capable of realism and then they choose to become an impressionist, or a cartoonist or a surrealist or an absurdist, there's more respect there because it means that their faculties are all there. They have the skills to do one, but they choose to do another. That's more impressive. Yet, I still, given the choice between the realist who can make an abstract painting and the person who doesn't have the skill, couldn't do realism if they tried, but put the same amount of time into an attempt at realism, I still kind of, my aesthetics prefer the attempt because of there's just such a crushing sadness in that, the failed attempt, but the valiant attempt. There's something so individual and so beautiful about that time investment. Do you know what I'm saying? I kind of seem like I'm rambling here, I know. I guess what I'm trying to say is effort means something. Even if you don't have the full set of talents your effort means something to me. And your story and the sadness of life, you know? The unintentional impressionist, the unintentional absurdist is different than the one who does it by intent. What is that about? I think I know what it's about. It's about honesty. If a person has the ability to execute photorealism and they intentionally go in another direction, there's this sort of ominous sort of feeling of dishonesty and deception, downplaying their talents, downplaying their abilities. I kind of find now we're getting into, now we're getting into how I'm using you as a shrink. Again, you're part of my therapy session. Again, you sucker. I've suckered you in. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, what would you give to be great? Would you give your time? Huh? You might have talent. Who knows? But it's your time that counts. If you give it your time, at least you'll have one person out here that will love you for it and that will champion you for it. Your time is more important to me than any definition of, I'm using air quotes here, God-given talent. All right, that's enough on that. Thanks for listening.